All right, Ravens fans, things have completely changed inside the Baltimore Ravens organization, and we seriously need to talk about it. For years, so many of us have criticized this team, especially when it came to building a wide receiver group that could truly help Lamar Jackson. It always felt like the same story, the same frustrations, and the same feeling that something was missing to finally push this offense over the top. But what if we've been making one big mistake? What if we've been judging this new Ravens team based on the failures of the previous coaching staff? I truly want to see the Baltimore Ravens hoist the Lombardi Trophy. That's a dream every Ravens fan shares. And why can't it happen this season? Some fans believe Jesse Minter and this new coaching staff are about to change everything. Others aren't convinced and think it's going to be the same old Ravens all over again. Now I want to hear from you. Which side are you on? Do you believe this new coaching staff deserves a fresh start, or do you think Baltimore is still repeating the same mistakes from the past? Let me know your opinion down in the comments. And if you've been a Baltimore Ravens fan for more than 15 years, smash that like button. Alright, now let's talk about why this new mindset in Baltimore could change everything. One of the biggest frustrations surrounding the Ravens for years has been the wide receiver position. It always felt like the organization never truly pushed all of its chips into the middle of the table. Players were added, but many fans never felt the quality matched what Lamar Jackson deserved. Every offseason seemed to bring the same conversation. Why aren't the Ravens surrounding their franchise quarterback with more proven receiving talent? That concern didn't suddenly disappear this year either. In fact, many people carried that exact same feeling into this offseason. But here's where things become really interesting. After reflecting on everything that's happened over the past several months, it's becoming much easier to realize that judging this current coaching staff based on previous years simply isn't fair. That old mindset comes from experiences under the previous regime, and those experiences naturally created doubt among the fan base. However, this is no longer the same coaching staff making those same decisions. One of the biggest differences starts with the message being delivered inside the building. Instead of constantly talking about Super Bowl or bust, the previous philosophy emphasized becoming champions through daily habits instead of making empty promises. The focus was on the process, brotherhood, accountability, and controlling what happens today rather than obsessing over results that nobody can guarantee. Now, under Jesse Minter, there is still complete confidence about competing for a championship, but the messaging carries a different energy. The Super Bowl isn't ignored. It's acknowledged right away. The destination is clear. Everyone wants to be there. Once that goal is established, the focus immediately shifts toward earning it every single day through improvement, preparation, and competition. That approach has stood out to many people because it feels direct, honest, and refreshing. Another important point is that Jesse Minter openly embraced the expectations that come with coaching a franchise like Baltimore. Instead of viewing those expectations as pressure, he welcomed them. He even acknowledged that he'd rather coach somewhere where the expectation is winning championships instead of celebrating 6-win seasons as progress. That mentality has resonated with fans because it reflects exactly what Ravens football has always been about. For many supporters, this has completely changed the perspective on the offseason. It's easy to criticize decisions like not aggressively pursuing veteran wide receivers. There were questions about why the Ravens weren't interested in players such as Stephon Diggs or other experienced receivers despite uncertainty surrounding the depth chart. Looking at the roster naturally creates questions. Zay Flowers remains an exciting weapon. Rashad Bateman continues to divide opinions among fans. Tez Walker is full of potential but still largely unproven. Those concerns are understandable. However, if this coaching staff truly deserves a fresh start, then they also deserve the opportunity to prove what they can accomplish with the players already in the building. That consistency matters. If fans are excited about offensive coordinator Declan Doyle before seeing a single regular season snap from his offense, then it's only fair to allow him the chance to maximize the talent currently available instead of immediately assuming failure based on previous seasons. Sometimes changing coaches means changing development. Sometimes changing leadership changes everything. One comment from a fan perfectly captured this entire conversation. The message was simple. We have an all-new coaching staff. Those few words completely shifted the discussion. That realization forces everyone to separate the mistakes of previous years from the opportunities that now exist. The people making many of these football decisions aren't the same people fans were criticizing before. Holding old frustrations against an entirely new coaching staff doesn't give anyone a fair chance. That doesn't mean every decision will automatically work. It simply means this group deserves the opportunity to prove itself before being judged. Another topic generating conversation involved former Ravens head coach John Harbaugh after a speech he gave with the New York Giants gained attention online. Watching the clip surprised many fans because it didn't resemble the motivational speeches Ravens supporters had grown accustomed to hearing over nearly 2 decades. The speech felt unusually awkward, almost as if it had been completely improvised. Some even joked that it looked more like a parody than an actual team address. Still, judging an accomplished coach based on one short clip wouldn't be fair either. After all, Ravens fans witnessed countless inspiring speeches over 18 seasons. Looking back at Harbaugh's final year in Baltimore, some supporters believe the season simply exhausted him. The emotional swings, difficult losses, constant pressure, and disappointing finish appeared to take a visible toll. Whether that's completely accurate or not, many fans agree it eventually felt like both sides needed a fresh beginning. That fresh beginning is exactly what Baltimore now appears to have. Fans who watched off-season practices have pointed toward Jesse Minter creating an atmosphere that looks competitive while also encouraging relationships and communication throughout the roster. Building trust between teammates has become an emphasis, with the belief that stronger relationships eventually produce better football. Whether that translates into wins will only be answered once the regular season begins. But the energy surrounding the team certainly feels different. One player who continues to divide the fan base is Rashad Bateman. Some fans remain completely confident that his best football is still ahead. Others believe it's time to move on. And many find themselves somewhere in the middle, hoping a new offensive system finally unlocks the player everyone envisioned when he entered the league. One interesting theory suggests Bateman could thrive because of his strengths as a timing receiver. If the offense truly emphasizes rhythm and precision, that could naturally fit his skill set much better than previous systems. That possibility alone gives fans another reason to stay patient. Instead of immediately searching for outside replacements, perhaps the biggest improvement comes from maximizing the talent already on the roster. The receiving room remains one of the most fascinating position groups to watch throughout the season. Beyond Flowers and Bateman, there is excitement surrounding Tez Walker along with opportunities for players like Chris Moore, Jacoby Lane, Elijah Sarrett, and LaJohntay Wester to establish themselves. Nobody knows exactly how everything will unfold. That's exactly why allowing the new staff to develop these players matters so much. The offensive line also generated discussion. There are understandable concerns whenever players return from significant injuries, especially when facing elite defensive linemen every single week. Offensive line chemistry becomes critical because one weak link can affect everyone else around him. That comparison to a chain is a perfect way to understand offensive line play. Every link strengthens the group. One broken link weakens the entire structure. The Ravens know protecting Lamar Jackson remains one of the most important priorities entering the season. Defensively, there's optimism that schematic changes could produce noticeable improvement. The belief is that certain players may benefit greatly from adjustments in philosophy, particularly if the defense returns to concepts that previously allowed key veterans to play at an elite level. Several fans also expect bounce-back seasons from important defensive leaders, believing better structure and healthier personnel could dramatically